tonight. My name is the Real Deal Joel Davis, comedian, the Real Deal Joel Davis, former professional wrestler, MMA fighter, now podcaster, stand-up comedian, and promoter. And I am happy to bring a very special guest here tonight to the show, Wrestling with Comedy. And before we get to our guest, I would like to read this email that had just come in. It's important to read this, and it just goes to show that we should thank all our blessings every day because of, things like this in life. This is a big professional wrestling fan. His name is Bobby Ferguson. I have not heard from him or his family in approximately 20 years. This email came in right before the live podcast. It's very ironic when I tell you the story. The email reads real quickly. Hi, Joel. This is Jim Ferguson. I was wondering if you remember this T-shirt. I was also wondering if you remember Bobby Ferguson from many years ago. He's 43 years old now, and just before Mother's Day, he lost his mom, Pam, unexpectedly, passed away on May 9th, 2026. Currently, Bobby is in UMass Hospital recovering from multiple infections he had got not long after. He is awaiting to be transferred to Leominster Rehab and Nursing Center in Leominster, Mass. I was going through some of his wrestling T-shirts, and I came across this shirt. He asked me to reach out to you, and if you were able to get this email, he'd be happy. Have a good day, Jim Ferguson. Absolutely incredible. Here's the T-shirt here. I do remember autographing this shirt with the other pro wrestlers, New England Pro Wrestling. There were other pro wrestlers that had signed the Sergeant Muldoon, Jason the Terrible, Crusher Hughes, Kevin Hughes, Cody Boynes, a wrestling personality, also signed this T-shirt. Christian Arion signed this T-shirt. The late Big City Mike signed this T-shirt. The crazy thing is, on the bottom of the shirt is a Real Deal Joel Davis button, and our guest tonight is the Steak Daddy Peter B. Steak Daddy Peter B is the man who made the buttons for all the pro wrestlers and all the workers, and had this, he was the man that you'd go to get these, gimmicks, souvenirs, merchandise before merchandise was merchandise. The man that we have on the show tonight is the man that made these buttons, and this email comes in approximately an hour before the podcast. It is crazy. I'm sorry for your loss, Jim and Bobby, of your mom and your wife, passing away. And Bobby Ferguson, I hope the best for you. And again, thank your blessings. This young man's been in a wheelchair since his infancy, and he is still battling this terrible disease. But professional wrestling was a big thing. I'm so happy to be a part of his journey. And I did give him some WWF cards back in Christmas when we had a show for him back in Clinton, Massachusetts. So I just wanted to do a shout out to Bobby Ferguson, and all the best to you, brother, and your family. We have a great guest here tonight. His name is Peter B. He's also known as Steak Daddy. He's a professional wrestler, manager, and referee. He came in as a referee. He became a professional wrestling manager as a heel. Not too easy to do, to transform over from one to another. He's done both in the world of professional wrestling. He's a 2013 New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Famer. He's worked for the NWA, the AWA. He's refereed big matches, including the match with the late, great King Kong Bundy versus Samu, the Wild Samoa #3 in a main event. Peter B went in as a referee with a broken ankle, finished the match, and did what he had to do as the third man in the ring. They called him Mr. 1-2-3, the man that called it like he seen it. I can't even speak right now. I'm so excited to have this guy here. This guy here is a true legend in pro wrestling. He's so modest. He doesn't know what he did for the indie scene, but he's done a lot for the pro wrestling indie scene. He made the buttons back then in the day. He had the $500 bills with his face on there instead of the president. He did merchandise when merchandise wasn't even big, way back in the day in the 90s. He was a big ribber, just like the late, great Mr. Fuji. He is Peter B, also known as Steak Daddy. Peter B, Steak Daddy, welcome to Wrestling with Comedy, brother.
Wow, what an intro. Thanks, bro.
You got it, man, and you deserve every bit of it. And, you know, we already have Scott Tovey saying hello to you on here on the chat. Those are great names from the past. Thank you, Scott, for joining us. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Peter B. is here tonight, and let me tell you, he made it in the Hall of Fame in 2013, New England, and he has paid his dues, so to speak. You know, a family man, a husband, and he brought up his two children, and he was also on the circuit, very dependable, up and down throughout New England, through New York as a referee, and he transformed over to a heel manager. Peter, let's start off with it. When did you break into professional wrestling as a referee, and who trained you?
I broke in 96. My formal training began with a guy down in Connecticut named J.C. Biggs. But informally, it was you that brought me up to Kowalski School. And I had a great conversation with Walter where he told me, you know, at my age, I should forget it. Just go home to the wife and kids and just, you know. But I talked to him and I said, look, can I at least come up here and just observe and see what's going on? You know, and he said, well, as long as you don't bother anybody, you know, fine, you sit on the bleachers and everything will be okay.
Yeah, it's funny.
And I did that. And just by being there, you know, I acted like a sponge. I observed everything. I listened to everything that Walter was telling the students. And just kind of by osmosis, you know, brought that in. But, yeah, J.C. Biggs was the first guy to formally train me in a ring. And then I worked with Anthony Rufo. And Anthony Rufo, you know, God bless his soul, he really took me under his wing and, you know, gave me a lot of opportunities and taught me a lot about the business.
Yes, great name there, Anthony Rufo, and the late great Anthony Rufo, who was also Ali Muhammad. He worked as the Millennium Killers with the Extreme Strongman Gino Martino. He wasn't only an in-ring performer, Peter's mentioning, but he also was a promoter, and he gave Peter, like Peter's saying, a lot of breaks. So refereeing wasn't easy. You were a big man, and you were up there in weight, brother. There wasn't many referees ever in history in the independents or major leagues that were your weight. I mean, you had Gilberto Roman back in the day, who was heavy set referee, but your weight, were you up and over 300 pounds and moving like that? What was your peak weight?
Dude, at my biggest as a ref, I billed in at 420.
Wow. Now, that's something I wanted to ask you because I didn't know that. I knew you were up in the three. So you were 420 pounds at one point, going for the slide for the 3 count at the ropes and moving around the ring like you were a light heavyweight. Now, that right there, people, and the pro wrestling fans are coming in, the numbers are going up. It's great. And you got somebody saying, Peter, you look fabulous, they're saying. You look fabulous. And you know, he does look fabulous. I mean, and you know, the thing is that was a good one. The thing is to be 420 pounds and move like that as a referee in the ring is not easy. I got a couple photos here. This is Peter B. right here. He's refereeing a match for the AWA when Rocky Maivia was on the card in Brooklyn, New York. There's Peter B. checking for the choke. It's actually myself, RealdealJoelDavis, with a reverse chin lock on Chris Blackheart. And there's Peter B. getting in there and checking for the choke. Here's another photo of Peter B. Way back in 1997. There's a young buck, Peter B., right there. Before, I believe he was just actually was managing at the time. He was at a big event there. Looks like an outdoor event, Killer Kowalski event or NWA event with myself. And then in the middle, a wannabe, Joe something or other. He was he said he was a pro wrestler, but the only wrestling he did was with the like Teletubbies and stuff and his pillows. He never became a pro wrestler. Sorry, brother, but just keeping it real. But yeah, Steak Daddy Peter B has done that. He's been there. He has done it for real. Becoming a manager, how was it becoming a heel manager, and what year did you start?
I transformed into a manager, I think, in 2002. Because of my size, the refereeing started to become a little too difficult. I mean, even when I started, I didn't start the business, or let's put it this way. By the time I started the business, my knees were already shot. So my style of refereeing, people were like, oh, look at the way he dives into those pin counts. It wasn't so much that I was diving into the pin. It was that I was literally falling down
Oh, shit.
because I had one knee that wouldn't bend on its own.
Wow.
So it was by necessity, that dive was taking place. The whole thing is, like, so many times after matches, I would go back in the locker room and, like, the guys that were working with me in the ring would just look at me and go, dude, how the hell do you do that?
Exactly. 420 pounds.
I'm like, what do you mean? It's like, guys your size aren't supposed to move like that. And I said, well, nobody ever told me.
Exactly. Well, brother, I've known you for years, bro. You're one tough son of a bitch, so to speak. I mean, you're a tough individual. You never complain. You get the job done. You've always been like that, Pete, as a personal friend of mine on the outside, and then in the professional wrestling business. And I get it. You didn't even notice that you were at 420 pounds moving like that as a referee, and being able to move like that is not easy. And with your knees shot like that, you continue to go. Let's talk about it. It was a main event, the late great King Kong Bundy versus Samu, the Wild Samoan 3, who was managed by the late great Captain Lou Albano. You were the third man in the ring that night as a referee, Peter. You were Peter B at the time, Mr. 123, the man that calls it like he sees it. Did you have a broken ankle or a sprained ankle in that match?
Yeah, I had broken the ankle the week before. I had actually, ironically enough, I did the Albano bump out of a ring at the Union Theater in Attleboro, and it's a concrete floor. And when I came down, I shattered my ankle. But there was no way I was going to miss working a main event with Bundy and Samu. So I strapped it up with an air cast. Even when I went in the locker room, I wore my pants gear, into the locker room just so that nobody could see the air cast.
Wow. So you got to the arena, the building with the air cast. Now, did King Kong Bundy, the late great King Kong Bundy, or Samu, either of the big main eventers, those all-time greats, did they know that you had the broken ankle going in as the third man? Did they know?
No, nobody knew but me and my family.
Wow. But like I said, if you just joined us, this is Peter B., also known as the Steak Daddy. What an incredible individual, a real incredible individual, to be able to be a referee for all those years from 96 through 2002, and then he transformed into a heel manager. He managed champions like the UCW Tag Team Champions, the Punisher Don Vega and Chris Blackheart. He was known as the manager of champions. He's been seen on the scene as recent as a couple months ago in Showcase Pro Wrestling, possibly scouting out new talent. You never know. Peter B., the Steak Daddy, does he have one more in him? Will he be back?
That's it. You know how us wrestlers are. You never say never. I mean, look at Mick Foley, guy's 61, and talking about making an in-ring comeback, which is absolutely insane.
Well, brother, you know what?
As long as we're drawing breath, there's always that possibility.
You never say never. You had the gimmicks. You had the gimmicks. You were selling the merchandise. You had the buttons. You had the $500 bills with your face on it. Let's lead right into it. I got to ask you a question. And again, everybody that's tuning in tonight, Wrestling with Comedy, I'm your host, the Real Deal Joel Davis. The guests have no idea what the questions are going to be, and that's why this show is so authentic and it's real and raw, and that's why we are Wrestling with Comedy. comedy like no other podcast. Here's a one for you. Now listen to this. This is crazy. You were selling buttons back in the day, brother. I know for sure because I was buying buttons from you, and they were great sellers at the souvenir stand. You know, and you had two individuals that were buying buttons by the hundreds, and they were a tag team. They were called Time to Go Crazy. One was Jack the Big Behemoth. He was 6'7", close to 500 pounds. He came out to Bobby Doll in a Bobby World. He wore a dress, and he teamed up with Crazy Don Rock. Apparently, from a good source, they had met. These two pro wrestlers, Don Rock and the Big Behemoth, had met at the Bellevue Hospital for the psych care unit in New York City. They were legitimately mentally ill, and they became a tag team, but they had bought buttons off of you, hundreds of buttons, but they were non-paying. They didn't pay you, Peter, brother, and then they showed up on People's Court wearing all these buttons when they were being sued by Shock Boy, who this is the true story, who didn't get his training after he had paid the Behemoth and Don Rock for training. Shock Boy was actually suing them, brother, on the People's Court, and they were wearing your buttons on People's Court. Peter, take us through it. What exactly happened?
You know, when they first, you know, approached me, you know, the wrestler would come up to me and it's like, hey, can you, you know, make a button for me? And I'm like, yeah, you got a picture that you want me to use. And I would, you know, go home. I would design a couple of different designs and make like a sample button for them. And it's like, okay, you know, which do you like? You know, get the design the way they wanted it. And then, yeah, I usually only made like small batches, you know, maybe like 50 buttons. But, you know, they wanted, you know, a rather large one. I'm like, well, you know, pay me this much, which basically just covered my cost for the, you know, for the pieces to make the buttons.
Yep.
I like, and then you can pay me the rest later. And, you know, so, yeah, I mean, they gave me probably about a third of what the order was going to cost.
Okay.
You know, so, I mean, I didn't lose on the deal, but, you know, hey, what happens is when people talk about, you know, people ask me about Barbie Behemoth and everything now, I just like, well, my mom always taught me if you can't say anything good about somebody, don't say anything.
So was he the one that you were dealing with more, or was it Crazy Don Rock?
It was absolutely Barbie Behemoth, yeah.
Yeah, Bobby, his name was Jack. He was one character, let me tell you. He came out to Bobby Doll.
Absolutely.
I mean, he was a big guy. I remember him being out in New York, in Osnabrück, New York, and me and a few of the other guys, you know, were hanging out with some of the ladies there at the nightclub after the show, and he would scare the ladies away, literally. Bobby Behemoth. And now, have they made any payments in the last few years to square that up?
Oh, I didn't even know if they're still alive.
Okay. It's Peter B here tonight. He's got a sense of humor, and he's also a very talented individual. He's a great, great friend of mine. I love him like a brother. Peter B became Steak Daddy. He was a heel manager up and down the coast in New England. He went to New York. Now, Peter, you were known to be a ribber. Now, you played some ribs, and you're like the late, great Mr. Fuji. Mr. Fuji was tag team champions with Toru Tanaka. He was also tag team champions with Mr. Saito. Mr. Fuji was definitely known as a ribber, and so wasn't this manager we have here tonight, Steak Daddy. He was a ribber. Let me take you back. Let me take you back to the NWA, Osnabrück, New York. A brawl breaks out. A fight breaks out. You're laughing. A brawl breaks out. The Public Enemy, Johnny Grunge and Rocco Rock, God rest their soul, they both passed away. They were in the bar. The Roadblock from WCW, World Championship Wrestling. The Roadblock was there. We were loaded with all the pro wrestlers from the NWA. You were in that bar that night. A brawl breaks out. It goes into the streets. One of the pro wrestlers, Trooper Gilmore's there, and he gets into it with a couple of these guys that get into the brawl with Roadblock. Roadblock was just taking them out like you know, candle pins. And then once we got out,
Roadblock was phenomenal.
He was phenomenal. And then we get out into the street, and then Trooper Gilmore starts throwing these work kicks, not even touching the individuals that we are fighting. It's a legit brawl, and Trooper's throwing these work butt kicks, barely hitting him. But you pull a rib the next morning. You call his room and tell him something about get out of town. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. We woke up the next morning and, it's 9.5 hour drive back to, back home. Then Trooper, yourself, the outpatient.
That's right.
And
Bull Montana.
Bull Montana came up with us, but he went back with somebody else.
That's typical Bull. Yep.
And there was one other guy, some guy just a hanger-on that used to hang around. I don't mention his name anymore. It's not worth it.
That's right.
But I looked at you, and because you and I were in the same room, and Trooper and a couple of other guys were in another room. So I said to you, I said, hey, want to pull a rib on Trooper? And he goes, what you got? So I pick up the phone, I call his room, and I was like, and I called him by, his real name, which I don't even think he knew that I knew what it was. Because, we called each other by our gimmick names back then, So I said, yeah, I'm looking for, and I said his real name. And he goes, yeah, this is him. I said, this is Sergeant O'Brien from the New York State Police. I said, I understand that you were one of the people involved in the incident last night. And he goes, yeah, I was there.
Oh,
and I was like, well, look, I understand you guys are just here to, do a show and then leave town. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you about an hour, and then I'm going to come up there, and anybody that's there is going to have to answer for what happened. I said, you understand what I'm saying? And he goes, yes, sir. And before I even had that phone hung up, he was pounding on our door.
Yeah.
Guys, we're going to get out of here. The state police are coming.
Yeah. That's great. That's a hilarious story. We have Peter B here, known as the Steak Daddy, as a manager. Peter B is a referee in professional wrestling. This is episode 35. He's 2013 New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. He's worked for the National Wrestling Alliance. He's worked for the American Wrestling Alliance. He's been all around. He's done a lot. Peter, we're about 7 minutes in left, unfortunately, but we're going to do the name. It's called the Dealing the Names is what we're going to do right now, and we're going to start off. The first name on Dealing the Names with you tonight, Steak Daddy, is Chief J Strongbow.
Never got to work with him, but I did get to work with Jules. But as a child, I loved Chief J. He would get beat down, and then he would go on the warpath and do the dance. And, Hulk Hogan ended up stealing that bit later on with his walrus face.
Yes.
And so, it's a classic bit, and, Chief J was...
the late, great
awesome.
Chief J Strongbow. Awesome, yeah. So we got 4 more names here with Steak Daddy here. It's Dealing the Names. It's Steak Daddy here on Wrestling with Comedy. I'm your host, comedian Real Deal Joel Davis, episode 35. One word or one statement. The next name, Dealing the Names, is J.C. Biggs.
Hey, he gave me my first break in the business, but then he kind of disgraced himself, and he's out of the business now.
All right, brother, that's fine. Hey, that's the way to. Hey, you got to say it the way it is. We're keeping it real and raw. We're not sugarcoating anything on this podcast. The number 3 name on Dealing the Names with Steak Daddy, Hall of Famer, 2013 in New England, is Anthony Rufo. Late great.
Man was a saint.
Very good. That's the way that you leave it right there. That's beautiful. What a way to put it. He really was. Number 4 on your list with Dealing the Name, Steak Daddy, manager at Champions here tonight, is Mr. USA, Tony Atlas.
Tony, old school guy, man. Classic. Great guy to be around in the locker room. Great stories.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it, brother. That's just a way to put it, brother. How about number 5 on Dealing the Names with Steak Daddy, Bull Montana.
Oh, Bull is a true legend.
That's right. That's right. Peter B's here tonight, former professional wrestling referee. He debuted in 1996. In 2002, he became a heel manager. He had a great, great career. He was respected and liked by everyone. He made the Hall of Fame in 2013 in New England, and he is here tonight on Wrestle with Comedy. We're so happy to have him here. He is one true gentleman and such a pro from the word go. Peter, we're down about 4 minutes or so. How about a funny road story for everyone real quick? You got one?
Oh, jeez.
Probably got a bunch. Give us one.
Funny road stories, I don't know. I will tell this story. You and I did a tour together. We did 5 shows over the course of 3 days.
Wow.
In multiple states. I was doing all the driving. It was my van. And as we're coming back, coming home Sunday night.
Back to Massachusetts,
Yep. Yeah, I dropped you off. It was like 11 o'clock at night. And then it's just a few miles to my house. I was driving home, and I ended up bouncing off a telephone.
Whoa. I thought this was a funny road story, brother.
This is just a... But... I got home and had the van towed to the house. My wife came out. She was breaking down. Next thing I know, I see your car come pulling in.
Really?
And you saw my van, and you just came up and you gave me the biggest hug. You, Joel, man, you're the guy that got me into this business. You're the guy that taught me about being a pro. And I owe an awful lot to you, bro.
I appreciate that, brother. What a pleasure to have Peter B here at Steak Daddy. He's given me some credit, and I appreciate that. But he took the ball and ran with it, so to speak. I just helped him out a little bit, and he made me proud all through his career, and still today, right here. We are so blessed to be able to still work a show tonight together, because we are, Peter. We're working a show together here tonight. It really is what it is. Peter B., we got finished this statement. I'm going to start a statement. I'd like you to finish it, and here it goes. In professional wrestling, I've done a lot, but I would like to do...
one more show.
That's a good way of putting it. So that might mean, folks, that you may see Steak... And we got someone, Steak Daddy. Dan Badondi's here. Steak Daddy. He's saying Steak Daddy.
Dan.
Andy Falk is saying Steak Daddy, you the man. We got Jeepster saying love Chief J Strongbow. We have someone else here saying, do you have any stories about Mr. Fabulous, the late Mr. Fabulous, Tony Ulysses? We got about 2 minutes. Did you remember Tony Ulysses, who just recently passed away?
I never met him, never worked with him, but I knew of him, and I know a lot of people who worked with him.
That's right.
Everybody speaks very highly of him. So
that's right. That's right. We love you all. We're glad you're joining us tonight. We got about a minute and a half left, and we had the Steak Daddy here tonight, Peter B. And just like I thought, would not let me down. He's a man of his word. He says what he says. He does what he does. He did both. He was a professional wrestling referee at 420 pounds at one time, unheard of. And then he became the Steak Daddy with the gimmick. He lived the gimmick. He was a heel manager. He transformed over to the heel manager. Both, he was very successful throughout the indie circuit. He was respected by all his peers. He made the Hall of Fame in 2013, New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. He's one strong dude, not only physically but mentally. He is Peter B., the Steak Daddy. He was here tonight with us on Wrestle with Comedy. So happy to have him here tonight. Peter, I love you, brother. All the best to you. Say hello to my nephew, Greg. And until next time, folks, keep it real at all costs. Good night, everybody.